I'm going to pose a few questions that'll build on some of those from earlier today by my friend from Georgia, Mr. Carter. As you both probably know, Admiral Michael Gilday, Chief of Naval Operations, has released a professional reading program list for the military that included Ibram Kendi's book titled How to Be an Anti-Racist. In his book, Mr. Kendi states, quote, "The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination," end quote. Secretary McCord, do you believe the American taxpayer should be forced to pay for this critical race theory training for our military?
Congressman, I'm not sure that what you're describing involves any taxpayer funds if the CNO recommends that sailors read a book.
So the book would not be provided if selected by the military?
I don't have any information on how the Navy treats that, but we could get that back to you on the record for that.
Okay. Continue to hear anecdotally from members of the military that I know in my district about critical race theory being promoted in the military. How do you think critical race theory training would impact our military's preparedness and ability to face threats such as Communist China?
I'm not aware that it is part of our training program, so that's sort of hypothetical.
Would you believe that critical race training, spending time, efforts, resources on critical race training theory in our military would be beneficial to helping our preparedness?
I think understanding diversity issues in training in that respect is probably useful. I don't think that that's part of our plan, though. What you're describing is not part of the Secretary's initiative.
It's sad to hear about it because I have long believed, and I did not serve as you have, Admiral, but our military for years, decades, have admired being ahead of the curve on integration and merit-based opportunities, and the military has been a model for that for decades in our history, thankfully. The Biden administration, though, has shown, I think, weakness in the face of China, seemingly taking a penitent approach in response to China's criticism back in March when Secretary of State Blinken said, quote, "We're not perfect, we make mistakes, we have reversals, we take steps back," unquote. Earlier this month, President Biden stated that, quote, "According to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today, not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists," unquote. Earlier this month, he also said, he told our troops that climate change, when he was overseas in the United Kingdom, climate change was the biggest threat to the country. And so it concerns me that this administration appears to be more focused on climate change and criticizing an undefined extremism in our own military than standing up to entities such as the most pressing threat, Communist China. Admiral Boxall, I won't ask you about the climate change, supposed threat of that being such a great threat, but do you believe that extremism in the military is a more pressing threat than Communist China, for example?
I have stated already that I believe, again, from my view as a military member, the threats from Russia and China remain near the top. We are engaged in a strategy review that will validate, what we believe as a department and what we recommend by the chairman to the secretary. As they go through that review, we'll be part of that, and I think we'll put those in the right perspectives. So I feel confident that we will have those as they have been. In 2018, we saw a National Defense Strategy Review that, a lot of that will remain valid as we move into the next few years.
That's what I expected your answer to be, and it's reassuring to hear that, and I appreciate that, sir. The Department of Defense recently convened a Countering Extremism Working Group to, quote, "better understand the scope of the problem of extremism in the military." Admiral Boxall, do you know what the definition of the extremism is that this working group plans to study?
I do not, but I can tell you that the chairman, you may have heard him yesterday as he spoke, and I stand behind that 100%. He, like all of us in uniform, wonder, exactly what was driving some of the actions we all saw and were, frankly, very concerned by in January 6th. And we have to look at the facts and the data, and they say that there was a military membership of that, and I think it causes us to force ourselves to look inward and determine, how does that occur, and is there something that we could do to ensure that we make sure that we've done everything we can to eliminate those things which are prejudicial to good order and discipline in our service.
Thank you. I want to just express my views, and I believe the views of most Americans. We're in great debt and gratitude to our military. Thank you every day for what you do to keep us safe. and very concerned and disappointed with how the military has been disparaged by some in this administration in this past 6 months. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Gentleman's time has expired, and apparently